Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, May 7th at 6 p.m. And we have another Historic District Commission meeting here in beautiful Emerald Hill. I'm going to call us to order with our statement of authority. The Westminster Historic District Commission derives its authority from Chapter 164, Article 9 of the City Code, which is authorized by the Maryland Code Annotated Land Use Article Division 1, Single Jurisdiction Planning and Zoning. Title 8, Historic Preservation. The qualifications of the Westminster Historic District Commission are on file at the City Administration Building at 45 West Main Street. The file is open to the public, and I'll call a quick roll call so we all know who we are. Kathy Beatty, Chris McMaster's chair, Grace Kelly.
Herman Wagner.
Fabulous, thank you very much. All righty. Well, tonight's first order of business is to elect a chair and a vice chair. Ms. Thorne gave us a heads up last month that we had to be thinking about this. I hope y'all have been thinking about this. Has anyone got any thoughts?
I make a motion, we kick people about already. You as chair and you as the vice chair.
She's not the vice chair.
Who's
The vice chair.
Chris Amadori.
Chris Amadori is the vice
You
chair.
sit down there.
how about you then? Kathy,
Yeah, I'm still pretty new.
you're no better way to get your ears wet.
Well, okay, let's start. I'll be happy to accept a nomination if there's a second. And then we can talk about vice chair. How's that?
I second.
We have a second for Kathy Beatty. Is there any conversation? I have been doing this for a very long time. Y'all are
Doing a great job.
You have been.
You guys are good for my heart. All right, well, all in favor? Aye. Then I don't hear any nays from me. I don't think it would matter.
Yeah, I'll go ahead
Yeah, and so I declare myself chair, and I have to say, I love this job, you guys, so thank you. Not too many people are gonna say how much they want to be on a commission, but I really do love this commission, so thank you. All right, vice chair, who's gonna wanna love it almost as much as I do?
Well, how would Chris feel if we sort of?
Can we nominate her in
when she's
absentia?
not here?
She probably planned this. Okay, what does the staff think about motioning Chris to be VP in absentia?
It's your decision. We have 4 people, we have a quorum,
Well, not only that,
but
but if she
it would be
really
nice if
objects,
she wanted to accept.
yeah. Well, if she really wanted to object, we could bring it up again next month. How's that? Why don't we consider a motion from somebody to nominate Chris Amadori as vice chair to continue on with her brilliant work? And if she has pending her acceptance.
No one else interested?
I'll consider it if Chris really wants out,
Okay.
but I don't wanna be pushing anybody. So
Okay.
Chris has been doing this a long time. She's doing a good job.
My only 2 cents, you guys both have worked together. So to me, that made logical sense. Both backgrounds in promoting historic Westminster. Now, I have no problem with Chris, but I think Kathy, you would do phenomenal.
I thank you. I appreciate that, since I have not been doing this very long. But I still think out of courtesy for Chris that we should offer it to her, and if she wants out.
So would you state that in a motion, please, Ms. Beatty?
I move that we nominate Chris Amadori to continue as vice chair pending her willingness to stay in the position.
We have a second? A second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor? That sounds like consensus to me. Not only that, but I do like working with Chris, and there's nobody on this board I don't like working with. In fact, Grace has the next most experience on this board, if you count all the years she spent before she took a little leave of absence. She has had a lot of years on this board. Someday, she's gonna wanna step into that
Yeah, and I don't work anymore.
leadership role. All right. All right, so have we got that item 8 taken care of, Ms. Thorne? Great.
Yes, thank you very much.
Item B, can you or Mark talk a little bit about item B, informational item on fuel tank enclosure at 135 West Main Street?
Sure, let me just pull up a screen share here. And then get it situated. Let's see. Here we go.
Now, is this at the end of Green Street?
It's 135 West Main. It's the building setback used to be a service station. And it's been vacant for a little bit of time.
135
Right,
West Main.
West Main, 135 West Main, it's right across the street from the what restaurant is that? And no, it's a little bit further from that.
I can also pull up a map.
I'm trying to visualize it too.
Once you see, you'll know it.
It's the angle of pictures that.
Yeah, I thought it was the shoe factory.
Yeah,
Green Street.
yeah.
As I think on the
West Main Street.
side has,
What did I say, Chris?
Yeah.
Main Street, West Main Street, 135
Sam.
West Main.
Yeah, I'm the one who said Green Street.
it says.
Oh.
Yeah.
They have been working together a long time.
You say that in concert like a. Well,
I was trying to remember, that's for sale for a while, yeah.
So is there a business in there now, or is it still vacant?
It was vacant, it was purchased, what's the name? It's escaping me, they had a car repair shop up
Don's.
near,
Down Service Center.
is it down, sir? No, I'm talking about where they used to be located. It's up near the county office buildings, the county purchased the property for the
Oh.
expansion of some of their facilities. So they're now moving down to this location, just to continue their business.
So are they requesting a demo permit for that tank, or what's the story?
No, so what they're doing is right now, you can see tanks. And they have a tank right here, but they're gonna be multiple tanks, they need more. For, oils and other things as part of the repair shop. What they wanted to do was just a canopy with posts, essentially just to cover it slightly, and they're also lifting it up, they wanted it to be more at floor level, which is about here where you can see that door. So
They
they
turn
can
it into sort of a dock and they can walk out there.
exactly walk out it and be covered, but being that it's on the property line. The county required it to be a solid block facade. So when we met with them, the thought was that they were gonna continue this block in this color and just bump it out.
Mhm.
And then we asked that they take the siding and put it above that line, so we maintain that line. And then the roof line, so it's more than they wanted to do, but because it's a shared property line, the code says it has to be a firewall. So that's where we are today.
Well, and it looks better, and it also would prevent somebody driving down the alley from running into a tank.
That's true.
They weren't paying attention, and clip one of those, that could be really dangerous, so.
I do think this is an improvement to the historic district, rather than a detriment.
Yeah, rather than having a tank farm there.
Yeah, exactly.
So even though this is informal, I think you can get a feel from our commissioners.
Yeah, it's just,
Kevin, how do you think about it? Yeah.
we're not making go through a site plan or planning commission as long as they do, again, it's an enclosure, it's not habitable space, not increasing the use because it's a non-conforming use. They're just making the situation a little bit better. And again, they did not want to do to this extent, but so we're working with them to get this so they can move into that space and relocate. So, and then again, anything that's happening downtown, we said we'd bring to you just to get the input and thoughts.
This does look like a good step forward.
Yeah, it's gonna look much better than even what it does now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. And you get rid of some of that chain link fence too,
Yes,
will go away as well.
thank you. We really appreciate being kept up to snuff. You'd be surprised how many people kind of tackle me just wandering around, you know,
Yeah.
what's going on? It's like, you know, every once in a great while I know. Not often. All right, thank you. Then, we'll look at old business, but it appears we have none. So that pushes us off to the Historic District Commission Implementation Plan, of which the historic inventory is the main task we're working on. How are we doing?
All right, so just yesterday, we had a bid opening
Woo,
and received 3 bids.
woo,
Yeah, agreed. So actually it's public, this was posted on our website yesterday or this morning. So we'll share that we received bids back from EAC Archaeology Incorporated.
my ex-boss.
Okay.
I'll have to recuse.
RK&K, as well as Marstow Day LLC. So at this point, we haven't looked at the bids really, we haven't gone through them. We would be looking to share them with you and ask that we can work together to provide a recommendation. This will definitely have to go to the city council. So just to explain, the bid amounts range from 59,000 to 114,000.
Did we have a target number that we were hoping for?
Well, we do know that we have 30 budgeted with the city and 30 matching with.
Okay, so we're hoping for around 60
Right.
or under if we can do that.
For sure. So, and also, of course, the state wants to help us choose the right bid on this project.
So how does it happen with EA Comer? I mean, I worked for Elizabeth for
EAC is.
5 years, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know.
And then I worked for her husband another 6 years. And it just feels like I have to really step aside from any kind of
Any
influence.
deliberation on it?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm a little afraid of being in on the deliberation of some of the other things because I am such a close friend. That bothers me because I wanna drive everything. You know?
I mean, just spitballing here, I feel like we could easily, we could probably share quotes without names, although you might know a style because you have worked so long. However, we have lots of folks here on the board we can work with. We'll just.
I know
So,
that our conflict until you vote. I think your input is valuable, because you also know what to look for. For me, I am always thinking cheaper is not always the best.
I will agree.
And also, the most expensive is not always the best.
Well, anybody who knows me knows I can be pretty critical and brutal with people I know and love best. But it's a matter of appearances, and so Mark, maybe you'll talk with the city lawyer. Because we want this squeaky clean, and Melissa, I'm certain you'll have some input with the state's grant representative again. I will step outside of this by 5 miles because I don't, it's been so hard to get to this point, I don't want to have any bad words.
And I mean, I'm not really concerned. I think the nuances of each, what the bid was and what they were bidding on and cost for each one, that's what you're looking at. And is what they're doing, meaning what we asked for. And again, if you're not personally gaining financially in any way and it doesn't affect your, I think Kevin's right though, when you were talking about the bids themselves, what they bid for and what we were asking for think I think you have every right to talk about that. Yeah, I'm not concerned at all.
I understand you want to also protect your weapon rejection. To me, like you are voting, your input is valuable either way, positive or negative. But you're not voting, and if you recuse yourself, then it's about the committee.
And I think you also think the state's involved to provide their recommendation. You have 4 other people on the commission providing their recommendation in the vote, and then at the end of the day, mayor and common council approves it. So your action is, you're providing some level of recommendation expertise. I think if we look at it that way, I think it's fine.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I also really, on contracts, I tend to zero in on clarity. Because I would wanna just make sure that this proposal, everybody understands what's behind it. That it's crystal clear that you've offered something and it's been accepted and you know what that something is. That there isn't something murky about the language or about the product that's gonna happen in the end.
Was the contract, or will the contract have sort of timelines to get certain portions of it done so that, it's not like a kid waiting there doing their term paper and waiting till the night before to write it all? That you'll get progress reports.
I think there are benchmarks and I think there are also built-in times for review. And if they aren't, now's the time that we will build that in. But the state normally has that kind of.
But I also feel very comfortable with the state already knowing the process. They would know it blindfolded and more than I would ever.
All right, great. Well, I really look forward to this. Okay. 250th. So we have a whole list of ongoing things. How are we doing with historic district street signs?
Still not much movement in historic district street signs. We have looked at some examples. We actually have, driving by, we actually have a historic street signage up in the city already.
Yeah.
For.
Which I'm sure y'all see.
Those square-
That was her.
Just a start place, right?
So,
We have one actually at Church Street too. A brown one at Church Street says no outlet.
Okay. About that too.
But look at it at North Church
Yeah.
Street and Main Street and see if that little sign says Westminster
Okay.
Cemetery, no outlet or something, just as sexy.
That sounds appealing.
so
Well, it is a cemetery,
Well,
but more people are
Yeah.
you're not leaving.
You said North Church
And Main Street,
and
right at the,
Main Street.
Shermaine Building.
Let's see if this pulls it up right away. Yes.
Yeah, see right to the right.
Yeah,
Oh, over here. Yes.
Oh.
that's Westminster Cemetery, so that would be historic.
I'm gonna drive around and come in closer if I can. There we go.
It's got the typical brown sign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Too much is building though.
Well,
it does blend in.
It does.
it's kind of the international signage of
Wow.
historic places. International, I guess, yeah. Yep.
But we've seen like multiple different types. You would just have brown ones and you might have that topper, kind of like the Bell Grove Square that tells you twofold Westminster Historic District, as well as the brown sign to tell you too. Signs themselves can be built in where it says Westminster Historic District and the street name is the sign. Others have a fancy bracket above or below, kind of similar to the entrance signs we're looking at.
Yeah, I
Or
think
it's
it would look good if they were matched.
If we-
Yeah.
When we were talking about that, do we want the bracket, the entrance one will have that fancy bracket underneath, but it has the emblem of of Westminster City, Westminster. I don't think you need that for the historic district.
No, and on the
but-
street sign, it's gonna be really tiny, so.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot more simple.
But that nice bracket above. When you have two street signs and a crossing like we just looked at. Both of them can't have that bracket above it, so you do one above, one below, so I think there's a lot, it's.
Just something to note and look
I
at, yeah.
think maybe the best thing I have to look at is just coming up with examples and just bringing them forward and start getting an idea of what you guys want. I think,
I don't like that one.
Well,
What do you like about it?
You can notice it.
I don't know if the city's this organized, but I would love to have the bracket go along Main Street. Because that's really the historic corridor.
yeah,
And, you know, the cross streets are the cross streets. And Bishop and Church are super important because they're one of the three original streets. But I think Main Street should have all those brackets lined up along it, just as sort of sentinels.
and so Melissa brought that point too, are there certain areas in Westminster that are more significant in the historic district? She brought up like the original, the original area of Westminster, should that have the bracket? Where the entire historic district would be greater than that, you know what I mean, so is there like a little special?
Well, there's White's Level, which was William Winchester's original plat in 1760.
That's right.
That's the tea room over on Center Street.
South Center?
No, it's Main Street.
Yes, but that was part of the big property.
It was part of the big property,
Oh.
but the original laid out lots is what I was thinking.
Oh.
We could limit maybe we could put all of that White's Level addition, the whole thing. That would encompass more of the historic district.
Question. This is the time to expand if we were gonna expand the district, right? Our renomination? Not that we need to, but it is a very historic home.
It's the oldest building, surviving building in the city. So expanding the district to make sure that it's within the boundaries would not be a bad idea. I agree.
But does that mean we have to survey the rest of the area?
Well, I'm not sure there's much in that area that's going to be old enough.
Stop sharing.
It's mostly new, so
It's mostly newer development,
Zimmer Ridge and
Ridge. Now, the Ridge Funeral Home, that was something. I mean, not that far, but that was a significant house before it became a funeral
Well, that
home.
one was it's a nursing home now.
Oh.
It's called Terrace.
You're talking about was a fair family.
Okay,
if you go down South Church Street, there's a handful of buildings outside the historic district that are really 1870s, 1880s, but they're very plain, and that doesn't mean they're less important.
right.
And also the original Robert Moton School is at the corner of Church. And I think
And-
Thomas Court.
Yeah, I go across that street quite often. It's church
I'm
and
trying to.
Yeah.
Is it over here?
it's hard to tell what that was originally.
Yeah, I actually need somebody.
From-
It's kind of a modular building.
Yeah, that's the tea room.
So it's not even in the city limits.
No,
Oh, wow.
no, it's not.
That's William Winchester's house,
I need to move it.
and it dates from the 18th century.
It's not
So
even.
that's about
Yeah.
1750.
Yeah.
Interesting.
See that? So that would be, I believe, a
Crazy.
challenge with getting that.
Yeah.
It is quite far.
That's crazy.
So is all this area considered White's Level just because it was his property?
Yeah, it was about 150 acres was White's Level.
Okay.
So it included the area that was Winchester's original plat for the city.
So didn't it abut, now Kathy, you're the expert, but didn't it abut to the Sherman's house on Main Street? That was the end of White's Level.
Yes, where the Kimmy House is was the end of his property.
I thought it was down at the German Fisher Shellman house.
That was actually the first house off his property.
Right.
Because the Shermans bought that from. Well, it's part of his property, but it wasn't part of the original plat of the city of Westminster.
Now, that was not part of Timber Ridge patent, was it, addition? So if you look at Westminster Cemetery on that map,
Yeah, let's zoom in.
you have to get too close. See that line where it kind of goes on a weird angle from your cursor.
Here,
That's the edge also of White's Level. And that's one reason why that is such a wonky set of property lines, because it's part of the original White's Level patent.
Yeah, Winchester just used part of his White's Level property to lay out the town of Westminster. So like the Kimmy House was the last one in the original plat of Westminster. But the Sherman Fisher Shellman House, which is right across Sycamore Street, was part of White's Level, but not part of the original plat of the city of Westminster.
So the Sherman Fisher Shellman House is 206 East Main. And that begins a new plat. Yeah, there's Sycamore.
sorry, was this one?
You've been back to that.
So that's part of White's Level right there. And it's interesting, I think, as I recall my history correctly, maybe not. When Elizabeth Sherman died, a lot of the land was sold to the county. And that's how they had it for the county district court. Land was available for Ascension Church, and land was basically available for the cemetery. It's just that it had always been used as a cemetery.
I thought one of the Shrivers donated the land for the courthouse.
I don't know, I think it was always part of that.
Gave the
When did she die?
She died in 1844,
42.
42.
That's 1844 when the start of Ascension Church was.
Yeah, I thought Isaac Shriver gave the land for the courthouse.
He could have, because he inherited it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But
that court property is anyway, we can look at, Kathy and I could go to coffee. There are 5 other editions, as I recall, from the Mary Shellman Remembrances. That little book.
Well, and you can see it on the 1877 atlas, they're all identified, if you've got the original color one.
Mm.
Or you could go stand at Locust Lane and look at the side of the building.
I see
Yeah.
This is not for you.
Right, but at any rate, just as a beginning focus. White's Level is really
Yeah, but if you have to expand the city boundary, that's gonna be a
nightmare.
Sure, but I guess in the, just for discussion's sake and just it's potential, if we're talking about street signs, to distinguish different parts of the city, if we'd like to.
Alright, well, let's.
I'm not sure how much the public would understand, though, it's pretty complicated, I think they know the historic district. But if you wanna say this edition versus that edition versus another edition, I think people are just, they're not gonna get it. They're not gonna understand White's Level versus Timber Ridge versus.
There's another edition
I
on
don't
Webster
think
Street.
the word many don't even care.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna, I would do the signage the same throughout the district.
Think they like they're supposed to.
Unless you wanted to add something within the original layout of Westminster that maybe put, 1764 on those signs was a street name in 1764 to distinguish that really early core of the city.
I think that would really surprise people.
Yeah.
I don't think people think of it East Main Street as being that original, because even the numbering situation doesn't start there.
Everybody thinks that the railroad crossing is the earliest part and it started there and grew both directions, but
Well, also, the reason for Center Street was the center of town. No one wanted to live by the railroad for the smoke and sound.
And then you
So,
got Market down there.
Center of town originally was at Center Street. Also, up was a beginning that was always Baltimore County, and where the city is now Frederick.
And it's 100 years between Winchester laying out the city and the arrival of the railroad, so.
Yeah,
things like
Things
that,
change.
1764, the railroad doesn't come until 1862, so.
All right, good. Well, let's think about at least marking the oldest of the old, but not confusing people with various additions.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Let's see, what else do we have in our list? Oh, 250th commemoration plaques for Revolutionary War era homes. Have you looked into that?
I have, and I'm trying to figure out the signs that are there already on some of the buildings. How do they have two signs?
Sure.
Okay, so should they be the same or should they be different?
Well, I think they should match our 250th logo,
Okay.
because it's commemorating a time and a period of
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
And there are not that many of them.
No.
And honestly, I can only think of maybe one other building that has any kind of sign that'll qualify. I mean, what other buildings have signs on them?
Gosh, I can't remember, I've
See,
seen
my
a
house
few.
has a sign,
Your
but
house has a sign.
it wouldn't qualify.
Oh, you just put that on yourself?
No, the house was built till 1870.
Oh, okay. Yeah, oh no, yeah,
And
yeah.
my
Yeah,
husband
that's
did that
true.
as a birthday gift, so, yeah, he just.
Only a historian would get that as a birthday.
Yeah. He got
Other
hold
people
of
that
it.
kill their husband, they give him a birthday.
I was so happy. And he put it into the
Oh.
brick and I was so unhappy.
You can put it into the mortar.
I don't know. I don't even wanna look. Yeah,
Okay.
but we only have, do we count like less than 30?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact.
I don't
number.
remember.
I
Have to go back on the.
Melissa's got the list. Oh, look at that thing.
I still.
I do, let me find it.
Find it, send
I
it
still
to
got
me.
it.
Yes.
You need to resend it.
And I'll go around and have a
Oh,
look at the
Kathy,
property.
Kathy says she's got it, cause she was the determinator of.
So,
I'll have a look at the properties then and see who has what and what will work. Okay. Cause I need a visual.
I do,
Do you think that the bronze, you were saying bronze before?
yeah, and something that matches the streets.
Yeah.
So that it all has that sense
Same.
of
Okay.
uniformity,
Uniformity.
it's branding.
what are they going to say on?
Yeah. She's gonna tell us. Okay. But they're gonna say one thing.
It's somewhere back in the notes, I remember to find it.
Yeah, but they're gonna say one thing, this building is a witness to the 250th. Or this building was,
They said none of them were a witness to the American Revolution.
oh, that's true. Well, this building, well, we'll figure out something
Yeah.
delicate to say.
Cause if you put that on there, somebody's immediately
Yeah,
gonna come and
no,
say, wait a
that's
minute, that building was built.
Yeah, we gotta be careful about that, but we'll do it, we'll do it. Alrighty. Belgrove Square. Mark,
Yeah.
did you get my email from the other day? We're still looking for, the DAR is looking for a way to sit down with the city.
Okay. I did, okay, yeah, I did, get the mark, you forgot about me, Okay. What did, and I was gonna talk, did we talk about that? I think.
This is what we talked about right before the meeting, I was like, it's gonna come up.
Gonna come up, because I have to meet tomorrow night with them and they're gonna say, what does the city say?
So what do they, maybe let's talk about that, what is the purpose and what do they want from us?
I think they just honestly wanna see city people. I think that's part of it. They just wanna see their partners. And I also think, they really wanna hear the address because they're getting so antsy about getting this thing ordered. Like they would have it ordered tomorrow if they knew the address where we can send it
Okay.
to have it stored. That's really important to them. And I think they're really worried about supply chain issues for this sign. And we have got to get it ordered before that window closes down.
So they wanna meet with us, is there a specific,
Well, if you give me that address, I will order it tomorrow.
okay, so that's ordering it, but the people themselves wanna meet with us.
I don't wanna meet,
Okay.
on Zoom, could be Zoom, but I think they just wanna see their city partners, they wanna be assured that there is a process for asking for a date. We're down to 2 dates we really want, and we wanna talk to somebody like Abby about whether or not these 2 dates, one of the 2 dates would work best. And right now, our two dates are September 20th or September 21st afternoons
For
for a
Yeah.
public
for
reception.
public reception, okay?
I have approached one of the churches in Belgrove Square in case it's raining. We can have a little reception inside.
I wanted to ask why that date was chosen.
It's the beginning of Constitution Week.
Okay.
And every year for a week, we celebrate our Constitution. And the end of Constitution Week is Fall Fest. So we don't wanna, we wanna get the week before Fall Fest. And also, we're trying to line up the municipal band, and if we don't have a date, we can't do that. We wanna invite all the dignitaries, the county people, the state region DAR women, all these people have schedules and lives that we really need to start a save the date thing on. And so, we're thinking if we get the municipal band, we could have a couple hundred people there. Of course, all us. Yes. And that would really be one of our first kickoff activities of the 250th.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. I like the thought behind that, and I don't want to intercept, but we do have the Westminster Municipal Band already scheduled for August. They have always been doing the end of the summer style concert, so that's maybe another option too, just to bring up.
We talked about that
Yeah.
actually, and it doesn't have to be the full band, it can be a subset.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, last year was actually patriotic music, I don't know if you were there at Belgrove Square,
I was there, yeah.
but they could have just replayed that same music for us a month later, and we would have, this is a lot more akin to the Westminster Memorial Day event. They'll be speechifying, there will be only room for a little bit of music, it won't be a full concert.
Okay.
What's
So-
are the church services? Around Belgrove Square, you got 3 churches, you wanna make sure that
That
we're not going head to head with.
Yeah, most churches meet in the morning and we're looking at this as an afternoon event, but you're right, we don't wanna be caught up.
It'll all be parked up, so you will be
Yeah.
able to get there and. So
So
Okay.
two-ish.
probably wouldn't hurt to just reach out to the churches and ask them. Maybe their ladies want big cookies or something.
We'll see. We know who the good cookies ladies are.
We do.
We do.
Oh, okay.
There's one church that has great cookie baking ladies.
That's the
We've already sort of started nosing around. All right, but they are really chewing on me, Mark.
So, no, so are they local?
So all of them live in the county. I'm the only city dweller.
Okay,
That's one reason why they're a little,
well, why don't we set up a luncheon? And go out and do a meet and greet.
that'd be great. Anything you can do. I mean, I think I've mentioned in my memo to you that, it could be as just you and Melissa as the leads for the city, and that's how I look at it. Cause there's no money coming through finance. But then again, if we need to remind Public Works of the commitment we are expecting with the sign and all that, it'd be a good time to talk about that. But if you guys want to be the face of the city and not make this a bigger thing, it's your call as city liaisons.
Do you want us to shoot you some dates and then you wanna coordinate with that? Okay,
Absolutely. But remember, Fridays and Mondays are their best times.
Friday and Monday.
Believe it or not, I think I am one of the few retired women in this subset. The other women all work, so. I know you always think of DAR as being crotchety ancient old women who were there for the revolution. But we have a very energetic new group of women in leadership. Yeah, the colonial dames, you know the difference between the colonial dames and the DAR. To be a colonial dame, your relative has to have been an officer. Whereas to be in the DAR, your relative, like mine, was just a private. So it's a whole big stratospheric difference.
It is.
In the history world. Nothing I can do about that. Alrighty, I did inquire. Oh, we had a proclamation for May Preservation Month, And did you get any feedback from that? I thought it went great.
I thought it went great too.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, I thought they enjoyed having reenactor there and regardless of who he was representing, I thought that was very interesting. I love the bell was great.
It's my grandmother's bell. I actually took that out for now Kathy, you would have laughed because it was Lay's turn, so it's nothing colonial about that, but anyway.
I thought they all enjoyed it. I really did.
That's
It
great.
was very interesting.
Do you think they were surprised or do you think they
I
did?
think they were surprised.
Good, because that was my goal, was shock and awe. So I was trying to sneak them in.
Yeah, it's Sarah now, so just in case. So she was.
Well, I wanted.
Comes in.
I wanted Mona to know because, she's the one who I expected doing the actual proclamation. I thought, well, you don't put the mayor on the spot with a surprise, but I wanted the rest of the council to be surprised. Well, then Mayor Becker was ill.
Yeah.
So Greg just had to roll the punches.
Yeah.
Nobody prepped him.
Yeah,
He's good at that.
I think that's great.
Right. Well, now, anything else, he wants to come. So I'll probably book him for the DAR unveiling of the
Okay.
sign and, anything else, he's more than willing and his price is right.
Well, and his time frame is right, with a little bit of coaching, he could probably say he's William Winchester.
Great.
Or something like that, so.
Mm-hmm. So, well, we got one thing done on our list, a May proclamation. I don't know, we may decide next year to do another one, because we'll be in the thick of things. So, Liberty Tree plaque, how are we doing with that, Miss Melissa?
I got to take a great picture tonight in front of it with my two little ones. But other than that, no, that one, we're focusing on the actual purchase and implementation of the welcome signs before we embark on the plaque. It will definitely be a next fiscal year activity.
Seems to me like you could make it match the street signs and the welcome signs, Can all and kind of match the house plaques so that it all has that same sense of 250.
When we come up with the plaque, what it's gonna look like, do you anticipate us sending out a letter to the 30-some households with a picture of the plaque, asking if they want it?
Yes.
I think we want to make sure that they want it versus, if we only have to order 10 versus 30.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
or do we order a few more anyway, just in case somebody then changes their mind, so.
So I really think we have to decide first what we want.
Yes, I want them to see what it's gonna look like when they're.
Once we get what we want, then we can work on peddling how it happens.
Yeah.
There may be some homeowners who don't want the city to install it, there may be homeowners who request that the city install it.
Yeah.
And you'll have to think about how the city feels about that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a million roles, so you have to consider that, but we wanna be able to entice them with something attractive and kind of goes along with the whole, theme of
Yeah.
visually. But let's get what we want, and the next step will be, how do we wanna sell this? A letter from the city would be the best thing.
Well, and we could probably print up a little certificate thanking them for the participation and give them that when you give them the plaque as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
We
think
can
we
do
do
some
something
little
like that,
ceremony
yeah.
like that. Shaking their hands,
Yeah.
telling them what a good job they're doing, keeping the building around.
That's good.
It's a chance to reinforce preservation. Okay, and then any event programming 250th meeting updates, Miss Thorne?
Certainly keep up to date by checking out the Carol Voices website off of the Historical Society website. We were able to get a notice in the newsletter about it. Hoping to push more about what's happening in the area. They are looking for us to put our events for next year onto the community calendar. Now events that are already being included are a lot of just the general community events that are happening. So Hampstead Day, they're like, sure, put it on there. Whatever community oriented events. So that's something we still have to do. Also, there is a grant that the Historical Society was able to get for a traveling exhibit, which they're working on, hosting at several different spots. So my my memory serves me, it's one that you could tear down and put together. So they're gonna have it ready for like the 4th of July event at the Farm Museum. And they're working with somebody to prepare all of those items.
Traveling exhibits are always a good idea.
Yeah,
I can remember way long ago, when I worked for the City Life Museums in Baltimore. We had things that we would put up in banks, because there's a lot of foot traffic in banks.
Not anymore.
No, I think it's gonna say not anymore.
yeah.
Okay, so that dates me. But if it was someplace else where there was, a lot of foot traffic, I would say the mall, but no. Again, that dates me.
Probably the library branches, I would think.
Library, yeah.
Probably the cow.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you had mine a long time ago.
You can look at a historic, pop-up.
On the wall at Hoffman's.
Yeah. All right, great. Now, one more thing. Item completed, okay, so you can move that preservation month on down to an item completed. One more thing we gotta discuss before we break into historic district commissions is the Flower and Jazz Festival. I don't know how that slipped under the radar. You're not available?
Sorry.
Kevin is available. Chris Amadori is not available. I am available. Are you available?
We were talking about it, and it's not my favorite event, so it's either raining or really hot, parking is a nightmare.
It is.
I need to be right.
Front door open.
What I'm kind of worried about is, with just two of us, Kevin will be stuck setting up. And that is a lot of stuff to carry.
We are very fortunate for this event to have so many streets members. I'm gonna reach out to our superintendent and see if they can't help
All right, so if
get it going. Or if not, I can come help.
Kevin, what hours did you sign up for?
Signed up for to how.
At the 12, that's what you always do. And I signed up for 12 to 2, which is what I always do. And that would leave us leaving at 2.
Well, last year, if you remember, once the city ran out of flowers, a little before 1, our table was really quiet.
Supposed to be perfect Saturday, 68 degrees, a little cloudy, so it's not too bright. Just put that out there.
I would, how long is the event officially?
It's from 10, they're actually, 10, sorry, I always think it's 10:30. 10 o'clock to 4.
And I have a 5 o'clock event, so I really can't, I would normally just stay, because I'm chatty that way. But can we leave our stuff at the table at 2 and maybe the cities will pick it up for us?
Yeah, we can coordinate, yeah.
All right, let us know, because that's what I can do.
Awesome,
Okay.
thank you.
I love it,
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
we have ordered seed packets to hand out flowers. Little ones, and then your thoughts on the label that will be stuck to them. I think it should highlight this logo that we have.
Yeah.
And then I think it would be neat to point it to the website. That's curated for all the Carol 250 events.
I think that is wonderful thinking.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you think ahead of me.
yes, for
That's
once.
What just what I would, I like it. I like it.
Now, do we have to come in and stick the labels on all the seed packets or something?
I would love help Friday if you have time. I can call you or email you. It's 200.
So
So
I
they
double check what my schedule is and I can tell you whether or not it's even a possibility. That's the 9th.
depends if you're putting them on straight or not.
All right, unfortunately, Friday is not a good day for me. I got a grant meeting in the afternoon and in the morning, I have a sick kitty.
Yeah.
So Friday's not great unless it's really late, like I could probably join you at 3 o'clock if you need help closing out.
We got 4 people in staff.
Yeah, we could probably do it, but it's a fun camaraderie thing if you wanna.
Man, Mr. T. Pursuit of all that. Well,
It's only a.
does it do going that day?
Exactly.
Motion on the table?
Since I have nothing to do Friday, I'll happily do them all.
Again.
All right, troublemakers. So let's move on then to the Historic District Commission and public comments.
I'm sorry, real quick.
Oh,
So the entrance signs we didn't talk about, so we got the Historic District Commission to pick its top option. I'm gonna take that ECDC, the Economic and Community Development Committee and Mayor Common Council this month to show them which one we're going with. So if we get thumbs up, and then the thought is, then next step is where are we gonna place them and put the order in? So we wanna put those in before fiscal year.
we already made that decision, right?
Well, we generally know where they are, but I think we need to physically be out there and.
Okay.
Because one of the locations, they have a hillside, it's a little difficult. Do we have to cut into that? Little things we may have to do to prepare the site, maybe for the person installing them, so. I think it'd be worthwhile.
Sounds like that's something that the city guys should determine.
Yeah, we're gonna take them, we'll
I'll
take
be
them
with
out, yeah, we'll take, they'll be there, yeah. We'll have to have the streets guys out there with us, the superintendent, I'll ask him and. And where they're
I'd be happy to
comfortable.
go on a field trip if you
Okay.
get those city guys together.
Okay, I'll,
Let me know. Kevin, you wanna go on a field trip?
It depends. Volunteer. What?
Right, Brad?
So, it depends.
And Grace works, but you still might let the invite if nothing else.
Yeah, I'm happy to go on my lunch, take a late lunch or early
Yeah.
lunch or something.
So when we set the time with Public Works, we'll email out everybody and then whoever's. And sort of, be here at this time and then, we'll move on to the next site.
I would be very interested if Mark was taking everybody out for lunch.
No, I was, if the HTC wants to join us in DAR for a lunch meeting, get together. I thought that was. I thought, that's what I was thought, that's what I was reading to say, so. So yeah, we'll coordinate the time and we'll open it up and whoever can make it.
Bring your own sandwiches.
Easy. And I have to say, the SAR map, like sign, like the DAR sign, I have yet to hear anything about whether the William G. Pomeroy Foundation is approved yet or not. I mean, I know they were fairly confident, but I just haven't heard the approval and I haven't heard any machinery moving about ordering their sign and all that stuff, so. And we're calling these markers actually, right? Because otherwise we'd fall under the sign provisions for town.
The city's exempt from sign regulations.
It's even better.
And also historic markers and that the government puts and wayfinding message boards the government puts up are exempt, clearly already listed in the sign section itself, exempting those elements. So I would view this as a historic marker.
Yeah, I should reprogram myself to say it that way, because they really are.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Ms. Beatty, do you have anything for the greater good?
I guess I have a couple of questions just from driving around and probably not actually this committee's responsibility, but I noticed that the parking lot up at the top of the hill where the new stop sign is, you go up Longwell and make the turn there. It looks like construction debris got left there. There's broken pallets, chunks of stone. And we're coming into the season when people are parking up there and walking down to Flower and Jazz. It just looks really bad there. And I don't know if that's a contractor issue or.
And that's a city parking lot.
Yeah, right up across from where East Middle School used to be, right?
Skateboard, near the skateboard park.
Yeah, near the skateboard park, between the skateboard park and
I noticed that
Longwell,
too.
right on that corner, there's the new stop sign there.
That's county, it's Board of Education still owns that parking lot right at the corner of Tuck and Longwell.
Yeah, and it just,
That's
it's really
county, but
bad.
we can coordinate with the Board of Education and even our staff to see if we can get that cleaned up.
Yeah, because it's just, there's broken pallets, there's chunks of stone, the parking bumpers along the edge are kind of pushed out of line and you're gonna be having a lot of people up there. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, things like that attract more and more dumping.
Yeah,
Um,
yep, absolutely. So yeah,
That'd be great.
we'll reach out to them tomorrow, the county, and if not them, we'll talk to our guys, see if we can do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a ton of stuff, so it shouldn't be hard to just haul it away to someplace. but-
Yeah, but you're right, it's a site that people use for parking, so, okay,
Yeah.
we'll look into that.
And the other thing I noticed, and we're not gonna get into the whole signs in the windows argument, but I got stuck in a traffic jam at Center and Main this morning while they were doing tree trimming. So I had a long time to look at the corner there, and are the regulations about sidewalk tables for eating, for dining? Cause I know the new coffee shop there now has tables up right on that corner on the sidewalk.
Yes, there are. We put together an actual guide for outdoor dining. Where tables can be placed, you have to maintain a certain distance for people to pass by and walk through. If they're gonna do it, they're supposed to do a simplified site plan with us, so we can ensure that that work is done. I don't think they submitted anything, so.
Yeah, cause they're starting to, I mean, they've got sign in the window, they've got giant ice cream cone up on the railing, so they, I mean, they're really starting to kind of get out of control there.
And that's
It's really
beautiful
tight
building.
corner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So those tables are, anybody coming down that street with a wheelchair to get to the access, they could have trouble.
and it's absolutely can't be blocking that, so, okay.
That's where your fat cat was?
Yeah, in fact, Rare Opportunities was the one right before,
Yeah,
pretty big.
I think it's on my, I heard Starry Night. I'm not Starry Night, what's the one in Hampstead? I don't know, what's it called, the one in Hampstead that went,
what do they call it, Hampstead?
oh,
Just like Doodles.
yeah,
okay.
it's on by them, sorry, yeah, I think it's on.
He got it, sorry, I'm just loud.
Sorry, I'm trying to remember.
The old guy.
Those are the only two things that I've kind of noticed that I wasn't sure what the regulations are in terms of sidewalk dining, and I've noticed a lot of signs on railings and porches and stuff, banners and things like that, and I don't know if those are. I know we've had a problem with the light up signs. but-
Yeah, well, we've been working on signage downtown to the point of, again, this will be a discussion with the ECDC. We're looking at specifically signage for downtown.
So those are the only couple things I've noticed.
All right, for me, I have been working a lot with the Heart of the Civil War Heritage area. And there's sort of been two kind of light of the world issues happening. One is that this heritage area, which runs right through Main Street here in town and has afforded us a number of grants over the years. Durbin House has gotten grants for almost 5 years in a row, I think, at $100,000 a pop. The funding calculation by the state is from Project Outdoor money. So it's not actually from taxpayer money, it's tourism money. It's generated off of tourism taxes and fees. So that money is usually not endangered, but for a short time it was endangered because they were going through the budget with a fine tooth comb and chopping everything. So we had to hugely run to the phone banks and letter writing to say, hey, look, this heritage funding is important. So all 13 heritage areas were at risk and zeroed out for a short time. They were restored. However, for our heritage area, the Heart of the Civil War Heritage Area, our funding, along with the other 13 heritage areas, had been frozen since inception. And the freeze was $6 million for all 13 heritage areas. I believe the inception was sometime in the 90s. That is a very long time for not any kind of inflationary bump, you know? And that meant that in the 90s, for core operations for the Heart of the Civil War Heritage Area, they got $100,000, which could cover 2 salaries. Today, that kind of money barely covers an executive director and certainly not overhead, you know, not associated costs of education and healthcare and all that. So we approached, along with the other 13 heritage areas, the state to bump up our annual allotment ability. So they bumped it up from 6 million to 12 million from this designated fund. And that was good, but it's a ability, it's not a promise. So next year we'll have to see if they actually apportion out 12 million to all 13 heritage areas. If they apportion out that much money, that means we can do more grants. This last grant cycle, we only apportioned out something like 10% of the requests got actually funded, because there's so much more need. And in Carroll County alone, there were 30 or more grant requests. No, maybe I'm lying.
I don't say, we never got anywhere near 30.
No, it was the whole heritage area was a little over 30, 32 or something.
That's.
Previous year, there was over 40. And we were talking about what happens if we hit 60, because there's a certain carrying capacity of reviewers and all that. So, no, actually Carroll County was very low in requests. We had less than 5 requests for all of Carroll County. Which kind of means bad things, sort of telling the folks that be that we don't need heritage money, we got plenty of our own. And we all know that's not really true. They've also changed the formula on requirements. It used to be like 1-for-1 cash match. And now they're giving a whole lot more deference to in-kind services and volunteer hours. And so that 1-for-1 match made it very, very hard for small organizations. So they couldn't come up with that match. I mean, if they didn't have the money for the project, they certainly didn't have the money for the match. But now it's a smaller proportion and sweat equity can be counted. So the hope is with this increased ability, there will be an increased apportionment, which means there'll be more money for grants and more money available to smaller organizations. That's the hope. We're on a good path for that. And it was funny, we had all kinds of great nods and great indicators until we got zeroed out. So as lots of things in Annapolis, you just never know what's gonna happen.
Well, and then you need to watch the federal, because I know there's been talk of zeroing out NEA and NEH and IMLS.
Yep.
The 250th funding they've been talking about cutting out all federal funding for the 250th events.
Yeah, there's not too much of that funding.
We're just gonna have to watch and see what the impact is on all of this celebratory stuff that people are planning, counting on funding from various sources. What happens if that funding does get pulled?
And then lastly, we're still working on local commitments to next year's budget. And we haven't 100% got that commitment yet. So we'll see how that works from county level. I believe the city has a commitment to the Heart of the Civil War Heritage Area. So that's good. So anyway, believe it or not, I spent a lot of time on the phone, spend a lot of time writing letters and trying to help other people rally for our very existence. And it's very existential, to be honest. So, and just so you know, for the 3 counties involved, for the heritage area involved, our little amount every year, little over 350,000 leverage for us, 6 million for the entire heritage area, leverages in our heritage area $6 million worth of tourism that they can estimate. Now, how does that translate into specifically Carroll County? I couldn't tell you, because that's not how they collect the data. They collect it from tour operators and hotels and stuff like that. And it comes partly from that tourism tax they can estimate. I don't know specifically what it means to the city, but I think it does mean enough that the city stays involved. I think it's important. Anyway, that's what I've been doing with my time. Well, you, Grace, what's been up with you?
Well, with Kevin, I've been noticing more and more of those East Coast signs going up. what's happening with that?
I
So-
tried to Google that, I couldn't find them. Who is East Coast Realty?
It's just a company, a young gentleman, and I guess he also works with his mother and father, and we also own property in Westminster, and he's just been buying up properties.
So that
They're
Colin,
located in no, not Colin.
okay, cause he's got a flag
That's a
up,
whole nother one.
yeah, he's got a big flag up at up across the street from Maggie's.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm like, really?
yeah, he's now a real estate agent too,
Mhm.
Colin, so you see more signs with his face around the city.
Mhm.
Very energetic kid, he's great, I don't know who met Colin, but yeah, he's fantastic. So the East Coast, what we're doing is documenting each property, each sign, determining what is permitted, what isn't, and then we're gonna provide that as a letter to them to say, okay, these had to be removed. These may be allowed, but you need a sign permit for those. We haven't received sign permits for any of them, so right now we're going through that task of just documenting everything. So the hope is that we first just coordinate with them to see if we can move forward that way. The next step would be issuing notices of violation. And there's a lot of signs, so
There's a lot of them going up at
Yeah.
Manchester. And what with the flag, is that like allowed? You're allowed to have a flag flown with your face and your advertisement on it?
no, that would be considered a sign.
Okay, yeah, I noticed that, I think it was last week.
Feather signs aren't allowed, so you see a lot of those on 140. So every once in a while, I'll be instructed to go up and meet with businesses that have feather sign removed. A-frame signs are only allowed downtown,
Mhm.
and that same placement of an A-frame as you would have seating, you still need adequate space to get by. You don't want it, and seats too, in an area where a car door opens up and hits it, so takes some time to figure out that placement of these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're working on the East Coast ones.
Well, those A-frames we had one, it was a homemade one, but we had one at HOCC and it was a windy day and it blew over and then hit the fender of some guy's car. He was not a happy customer. It's like, let's not put it out on a day when we've got gale force winds, guys.
There's other things you can do to secure them, there's weights and other things you can help a little bit.
Yeah, and then they bought one, they didn't want to have to pick it up, they bought one that had wheels, the very first day they put it out, I just come out of one building and walk in, and somebody's like, oh, are they still putting it up? And I look, here's our sign blowing down the building. Pretend I didn't see this. Some nice guy, like, ran out and rescued it and brought it back, and it's like, yeah, that's why they have little things so you can fill them with sand or water or something. to weigh them down, you know?
We also met with about signage for downtown. We met with the Downtown Business Association this month and this past Monday. And we have committed to starting a little working group with some DBA members, business owners, residents. So if anybody from the HCC wants to take part in the discussion of what uniform or consistent type of signage we allow for downtown, I think it would be helpful to have somebody in the historic
Sounds
district
like
there.
Chris would wanna be on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's.
Let's volunteer our vice chair.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, she certainly is a somebody's got an interest in it.
Mhm.
Kevin, do you have anything to report?
Yes, but I more of. But I stay out the walkway on 27. And take our construct. Is that if it's in the city or is that county?
that's state highway administration. It's part of the whole 27 sidewalk reconstruction program, so it's been going on for years.
I knew it was. Well, plastic goes, there's been no war. And I wish I'm on that list. I think they should look into the parks over by Wyndham House.
I think it's the concept,
I was
but
wondering where it was going.
it's a boardwalk because the environmental features, the slope, you couldn't put an actual concrete sidewalk down. So they'll extend south to the overpass of 140 and then they'll cut back into the concrete sidewalk, which they're having issues from the overpass south, because that one property, the very first property they have to put the sidewalk on his property because it's not right of way space. And there's issue that the property owner is not happy about having the sidewalk and maintaining the sidewalk. Which is funny because whether the sidewalk's on your property or not on your property, in front of your property, is still required to maintain it. So maintenance would still be required even if we get it in the street, fronting on that property, he's still responsible for maintaining it. So I know the state ran into that, so I'm not sure how that's gonna be resolved. If you're ever gonna get that full connection from 140 down, you might have to go back into the street possibly, so I know they're still working on that.
I'm trying to figure out where it was coming from and going to.
It was from Miami Avenue, I think, south of Main Street, up north to 140, where it is. So that's a lot of the new sidewalk you see was part of that project from years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember coming before us years ago. It
Yeah.
might have been before your second.
BG, before Grace.
Wow, right?
But it's not a city project, not a county, it's in state highway right of way. They're funding it,
I think the mayor posted something about it recently,
you know,
yeah.
it's not us.
Yeah, not you guys.
All right, so the commissioners have had their input for this last month's activities. How about city staff? Do you have anything you'd like to share?
We're going to mention DBA and the cyber, I already mentioned that. About you were on camera not too long ago. For the,
Today.
Yeah.
We had visitors to Westminster, the Maryland Tourism Coalition came out and they had contacted representatives from Carroll County Tourism, Bonnie Staub, the director, Denise Beaver with the Carroll County Economic Development. We had Mike McMullen with the Chamber, our council member, Kevin Dayhoff, and myself, and the representative for the Main Street Maryland program with the Department of Housing and Community Development, Christine McPherson, and go ahead.
And they met on Locust Lane, you can see it, so the map is behind. They had, and Melissa spoke and.
Yeah, we just
Dayhoff spoke and.
essentially they were here to highlight Maryland in a day. It's something that they've been doing a couple of years now. And the fact that we are right on the old Main Street Byway, which is our tourism link. And it's just fun. They actually started out west in the Deep Creek area and Garrett County, and they moved all the way through to Baltimore in a day.
Wow.
And along the way, so if you're on Facebook, they have a page where they did interviews with groups along the way. So we got to be one of the stops. It's a little bit comfortable.
The map is on there too, that shows the byway, the old Main Street byway, which I did have a little bit of complaint about. Because the byway comes down 27, hits 140 over to Uniontown versus coming down into downtown onto Main Street. So I commented, how can it be an old Main Street byway?
Yeah.
Bypass.
Bypass, if it's bypass, this exists, so. I said, can you just, why can't you just extend it down to Main Street and shoot up Uniontown that way?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they'll listen to me, but I thought that was a little interesting that they were bypassing the Main Street.
Send us the link. I want to watch something
Okay.
fun. Please send us all the link.
Yeah, they got it almost in time before the rain.
Yeah.
It was a little windy.
We're standing there and it was not so windy, and then, one or two sprinkles, and then as soon as the camera turns on, it was like the wind, it was like someone was just poking fun. Yeah. But that was really neat, yeah.
That's fun.
And then tonight again, it's the first Westminster Wednesdays. Many of the retailers are open until 8 p.m. The restaurants certainly are. And that's, speaking of the outdoor dining, that's one of the initiatives working towards planning out appropriate spots for outdoor dining where it makes sense, where we can all work together and make it a nice gathering space.
They can close down Main Street on Wednesday. Cause I know in Annapolis during the COVID, they moved out onto the street and they had these maybe I'm thinking of Ireland, they did the same thing there.
I think it did it
Say-
from the point too, that-
Yeah, the parklets.
Parklets.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, we actually reached out during COVID, and that's where we came up with the guidelines for outdoor seating to help out COVID, that, you know, where you can, where they can situate it, what you have to think about. And we'll shoot that to you as well, but we reached out to the restaurants and asked if they would help us. We were willing to do it, and nobody was interested.
Expensive?
Okay, expensive.
We would have just, I don't think we would have built the structure, I think we would have blocked off,
Okay.
so they could have, to take away some of the parking.
Yeah,
We did have someone take you up on it. Johansson did. Johansson Zoning House.
but they did the parking lot
He did have a
there.
parking lot, out, he was.
Sorry, they're not on the street.
Yeah, I'm talking about on the street, taking up parking spaces, and
Yeah.
I think that was a concern, they didn't wanna lose parking spaces with the limited amount of
Oh,
space they
yeah.
had in their restaurant as it
That's
was.
true.
Through COVID, and that was understandable, but Yeah.
We need wider sidewalks.
Well, we'll have to move the buildings or
I
make
don't
it
think
one
there's a way to
way.
do
I
that.
don't know, I'm thinking about it now.
There's no way to do that.
Right, well, if there's nothing else as far as Historic District Commission business,
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing,
okay.
you know, we finished the water line. And right on the heels of that, we got contacted by BGE and they wanted to come through. And redo their gas line down on Main Street. And we're trying to repave Main Street, you might see Pennsylvania Avenue, it's going through there now. Actually, it's gonna come through Main Street in winter, in some portion of winter and other roadways in downtown. But if anybody's watching, if you guys. This is replaced the main and then doing new connections.
No, we just repaved all the roads just a few years ago, didn't we?
Not
On Main Street.
Yeah, Main Street,
Main
okay.
Street is
And-
desperately.
So it was really a lot of discussion of the BGE, we didn't want to repave and then come in and cut
Yeah.
through.
Right,
So BG's backed off, they're not gonna do it anytime soon, and the paving's gonna happen, and we are gonna make sure that if they do come through in a certain time period, they have to repave our roadway again. We don't want it cut up.
Yeah.
After we just pave it, so the repaving's happening downtown, that is historic district area, and
My
the gas,
street's
BG
next,
gas main, not happening anytime soon.
my street's next, I'm really happy.
and this is a simple overlay, right? It's not a redesign or
Not a redesign, just
no
over,
new
yeah.
cutting and.
New cutting, we're supposed to be getting new, updated crosswalk details, maybe possibly, and so
Didn't
we're
they just
gonna-
do the crosswalks like the?
You think of the push button lights.
Yeah,
flashlights.
I saw them, was it, last year they were doing the brickwork? Wasn't that long ago? I saw them do the brickwork,
There might have been
cause I was
some.
watching them, like it was very cool to watch them, maybe it was 2 years ago, I don't know.
You're right, well, time flies, I feel the same way, I feel like we just had all this paving done, so.
So that's all I have, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm gonna come up with another one.
So the gavel is coming up, unless there is any other official business for the HCD, then we are adjourned.